Long before the first rays of sunlight touched the green hills of Manfi, the rhythmic sounds of drums could already be heard echoing across the villages of Manyu. The beats were more than music. They were the heartbeats of the people, carrying stories of courage, unity, and tradition from one generation to the next. Among all the traditional dances cherished by the people, none captivated hearts quite like Moninkim. The graceful cultural dance performed by maidens, dressed in colorful attires, beads, brass bangles, and beautifully braided hairstyles. The dancers moved with elegance and confidence, honoring their ancestors while celebrating the beauty of womanhood. In the peaceful village of Egbeko, just outside Manfi, lived a young girl named Bessem. From the time she could walk, Bessem would stop whatever she was doing whenever she heard the distant sound of Moninkim drums. Whether she was helping her mother in the kitchen, fetching water from the stream, or gathering firewood, the rhythm would pull at her heart. She would quietly imitate the dancers' grateful steps, spinning barefoot in the compound until everyone around her laughed with delight. Her grandmother often watched from the veranda with a smile. "You were born with the drums already beating inside your heart," she would say. As Bessem grew older, her love for Moninkim only deepened. While girls dreamed of leaving the village for city life, Bessem dreamed of mastering every step, every grateful turn, and every movement that told the story of the Manyu people. She believed Moninkim was more than a dance. It was a living language through which the ancestors spoke to future generations. Every evening after school, she practiced tirelessly beneath the giant mango tree in the village square. The older dancers corrected her posture, refined her footwork, taught her the meaning behind every waist movement, and reminded her that a true Moninkim dancer did not perform for applause alone, but carried the dignity, history, and pride of her people. Some villagers admired her determination, but others questioned her passion. "A dance cannot build your future," they will say. "Spend more time chasing modern dreams." Bessem will simply smile. "Our traditions are not chains that hold us back," she replied. "They are roots that keep us standing." She never imagined that her love for Moninkim would one day make her a symbol of hope, not only for Manfi, but for the entire Manyu division. The months passed and Bessem's reputation as a gifted Moninkim dancer began to spread beyond her village. Whenever there was a traditional wedding, a coronation, a cultural festival, or the installation of a chief, people would ask the same question before making any other arrangements. Will Bessem and her dance group be performing? She danced with a grace that seemed effortless. Every movement was deliberate, every smile genuine, every step perfectly synchronized with the heartbeat of the drums. The heavy brass anklets around her legs jiggled, and her jigija around her waist matched with the harmony and each graceful stride. While colorful beads and dressing around her neck reflected the afternoon sun. The elders often nodded in approval. "She doesn't just dance," one of them would whisper. "She understands the spirit of Moninkim." Bessem knew that Moninkim was far more than entertainment. Her grandmother had taught her that every movement carried meaning. The gentle sway of the shoulders respected humility. The proud lift of the chin symbolized dignity. The rhythmic waist movement and stamping of the feet reminded every daughter of Manyu that she belonged to a people with a rich and unbroken history and the power the Manyu woman has in seduction. Whenever Bessem danced, she remembered those lessons. She danced for the women who had preserved the culture before her. She danced for the children who would inherit it after her. She danced for Manyu itself. Soon, the leader of the village's Moninkim society, Manchong, approached Bessem after a performance. "My daughter," she said warmly, "your talent is a gift, but talent alone is never enough. A great Moninkim dancer must also possess discipline, humility, and respect. From that day onward, Bessem's training became even more demanding. She woke before sunrise to help her family on the farm. She attended school during the day. And every evening, she practiced until darkness covered the village. Sometimes her feet became swollen from hours of dancing. Sometimes her muscles ached so badly she struggled to walk home. Yet she never complained. Whenever she became tired, she remembered her grandmother's words. The drum only sings beautifully because it has endured many blows. Years of practice slowly transformed Bessem from a talented dancer into an exceptional one. Then came the announcement everyone had been waiting for, the annual Manyu Cultural Festival, which will be held in Manfi, bringing together Moninkim dancers from villages across the division. The best dancers from Eyumojok, Bachontai, Osing, Manfi, and surrounding communities will compete before traditional rulers, cultural custodians, and the Agbor and Moninkim society members and spectators. Winning the festival was considered one of the greatest honors a Moninkim dancer could receive. The village erupted with excitement. Children ran through the streets shouting the news. Tailors worked day and night sewing new traditional attires and outfits. Blacksmiths polished their bronze ornaments. Drummers repaired their drums with fresh animal skin. Everyone believed this year belonged to Bessem. As preparations intensified, the pressure grew heavier. People no longer expected her to simply dance well. They expected her to win. The expectations weighed on her heart. One evening, unable to sleep, Bessem walked quietly to the village square. The moonlight bathed the empty dancing ground in silver. She stood alone where generations of Moninkim dancers had performed before her. Closing her eyes, she imagined the sounds of the drums. She began to dance, not for judges, not for applause, not for victory. She danced for herself. She danced for her ancestors. She danced for the little girl who had once twirled barefoot in her mother's compound simply because the rhythm made her happy. When she finished, she heard gentle clapping behind her. It was her grandmother. "I knew I would find you here," the old woman said with a smile. Bessem lowered her head. "I'm afraid, Grandma." Afraid of losing? Bessem nodded. Her grandmother took her hand. "My child, a Moninkim dancer is never measured by the trophy she carries home. She is measured by whether she honors her people each time she steps into the dancing circle." She paused before continuing. "If your dance reminds even one young girl to love the culture, then you have already won." Those words settled deeply in Bessem's heart. The next morning, she no longer practiced to become the best dancer in Manyu. She practiced to become the best ambassador her culture had ever known. Little did she know that the festival would test not only her talent, but also her character. And that one unexpected movement during the performance will make her name impossible to forget. Bessem the Moninkim Dancer. The morning of the Manyu Cultural Festival arrived with a sense of excitement that could be felt throughout Manfi. Before dawn, smoke rose gently from kitchen fires as women prepared food for the long day ahead. Pots of eru, egusi pudding, okongobong, pepper soup simmered over firewood. Men erected canopies around the festival grounds, while young boys decorated the entrance with fresh palm fronds. By 8 o'clock, the town was alive. People arrived from every corner of Manyu Division. Egbeko, Bachontai, Eyumojok, Osing, Kimbong, Ekok, and the surrounding villages. Some came on motorcycles, others on foot, and many dressed in their finest traditional attire. Traditional rulers sat beneath beautifully decorated shelters, each surrounded by the elders, the title holders. Mothers carried babies on their back. Young children squeezed through the crowd, hoping to catch a glimpse of the famous Moninkim dancers they had only heard about. Then came the drummers. The first deep beat echoed through the fields. Boom, boom, boom. A second drum answered, then another. Soon dozens of drums spoke together, their rhythms rising and falling like thunder rolling through the Manyu forest. The festival had begun. One by one, dance groups entered the arena. Each village proudly displayed its Moninkim through colorful attire, beats, brass ornaments, the jigija, and the graceful choreography. The spectators applauded each performance, cheering loudly whenever a particular difficult movement was executed perfectly. Bessem stood quietly behind her group. Unlike the others, she wasn't speaking. She closed her eyes and listened. She listened to the drums. To her, they were not just instruments, they were voices. They reminded her of her grandmother's stories, of evenings beneath the mango tree, of countless hours practicing until her feet were sore. Manchong gently adjusted the beat around Bessem's neck. Do not dance to impress them, she whispered. Dance so that your ancestors recognize you. Bessem smiled. I will. At last, the announcer's voice echoed across the field. Please welcome the Moninkim cultural group from Agbor. The crowd erupted into applause. The dancers walked proudly into the arena in perfect formation. Their attire shimmered beneath the afternoon sun. Their brass bangles, jigija, reflected flashes of gold. Their braided hairstyles were perfectly decorated with colorful beads that danced with every movement. The drummers changed rhythms. The lead drummer struck the first signal. Bessem took one deep breath. While the women were singing, then she stepped forward. The arena became silent. Every movement she flowed effortlessly into the next. Her shoulders moved with gentle elegance. Her feet stamped the earth in perfect rhythm. Her waist swinging from one side to another. Her hands told stories older than words themselves. She was no longer simply dancing. She was speaking the language of her ancestors. The audience watched in complete silence. Even the children stopped talking. An elderly chief leaned towards another elder. Watch that girl carefully. She dances like the old masters taught our mothers. As the performance continued, something extraordinary happened. Dark clouds suddenly gathered above the festival ground. A strong wind swept across the field. Dust rose into the air. Within moments, heavy rain began to fall. People rushed to protect themselves. Some spectators ran beneath nearby shelters. Others covered their heads with wrappers and umbrellas. The organizers considered stopping the competition. The drummers hesitated. Then Bessem did something no one expected. She continued dancing. The rain soaked her attire. Water streamed down her face. Her beads glistened beneath the grey sky. Yet she never lost the rhythm. One by one, the other dancers looked at her. Inspired by her courage, they returned to formation. The drummers smiled. Without saying a word, the singing from the Agbor women intensified. They resumed playing. The sounds of drums grew even louder than the rain. The audience slowly returned. No one wanted to miss what they were witnessing. Children began clapping. Women started singing. The elders rose to their feet. Bessem danced with even greater passion than before. Every movement declared that culture could not be washed away by rain. Tradition could not be silenced by storm. The final drum beat echoed across the field. The dancers froze together in perfect formation. For several seconds, absolute silence. Then the entire festival exploded into applause. People stood on their feet. Some shouted her name. Others wiped tears from their eyes. Even the chiefs and Agbor women rose in respect. One elderly woman whispered, "Today, our daughters have reminded us who we are." When the judges announced the results later that afternoon, the Agbor Moninkim group was awarded the festival's highest honor. But it wasn't the trophy people talked about. For years afterwards, whenever the people of Manyu remembered that unforgettable festival, they simply called it the year Bessem danced in the rain. It became more than a performance, it became a symbol. A reminder that true culture does not fade when challenges come. It shines even brighter. From that day forward, little girls throughout Manyu practiced Moninkim with a new dream in their hearts. They no longer said, I want to be the best dancer. Instead, they proudly declared, I want to dance like Bessem. And so ends the story of Bessem the Moninkim Dancer, a story of courage, mystery, tradition, and the strength found in believing in yourself. Though fictional, this story is inspired by the beauty, richness, and vibrant culture of the Manyu people. May it remind us to celebrate and preserve our heritage through storytelling. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. There are many more original stories waiting to be told. I'm Agbor Tabi, also known as Kamer's Finest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.